Pose. Pose. All things are here to give you a review and a recap of the polls on Sunday. Well, we're into episode 4 with Ryan Murphy's pose. And this particular episode is hitting and is focusing on, it's called fever, but I would like to call it body image. And the reason why I would like to call it body image is because it's focusing on what you see in the mirror. It's almost like the man or the woman in the mirror, and whether or not if you're basically satisfied with who you are as a human being. We open up with Damien, who is basically suffering from a flu-like symptom. He has a temperature of 102, and of course he is very, very sick, and he is also really improved a lot in school. But we go into the opening of the category, and the category is voluptuous, curve, female, queer, butch, queen. And that means we're looking at curvy women. We're looking at trans women who has basically formed their body image into the person who they want to be. And you see Percy is basically calling the category, and we see these, we see all these women. And just so you know, I always say when I'm doing it is that the ballroom scene, yes, was created for our community to have a place to feel comfortable, to feel who they are, to do, to live in a fantasy world for a brief moment. But not only is it just for our community, but our community also embrace the straight community, the allies, and a lot of them was a part of the straight community. A lot of the straight community was also a part of the ball scene. And the theory that I like about it is that Percy, and we see that in the house of abundance, Candy, who is a part of the house of abundance, but she wants to compete in this category. And so she comes out on the floor, and Percy says, well, what do we have here? And before that, Alexis tried to tell Candy that this was not her category. She is I'm going to say she's an androgynous. She has a body of an androgynous person. And when I say androgynous, it is a straight, she has no curves. She doesn't have this boom. She doesn't have this bang, and she doesn't have this bop. But, of course, she did not win in this category. She didn't win in this category. And Alexis tried to warn her, but she went out there anyway, and the score, she got all 6s. And this is when Percy told her and told the people that this was the lowest score for the House of Abundance. And of course, Alexis was not really pleased with her. That the fact that she gave her a warning, tried to tell her don't do it, but she, basically insisted she wanted to do this. And so she was upset because she was embarrassed and Percy said that she had just been stinged. And so she ran out of the ballroom. When she ran out of the ballroom, you saw Angel basically go behind her. And the reason why Angel went going behind her, excuse me, God playing, went behind her is that she wanted to, console her. And of course, Candy was basically upset and said, "Well, why are you basically coming out here? What's your intent? What's your purpose?" And so Angel tells her, says, "Just because we're in different houses does not mean that, I don't care for you or anything like that." And so we go on until Angel tells Candy that she basically, if she wants to, get into this voluptuous category, that she knows where she can get some assistance to create her body image, to create the body that she really is basically desiring and desire for. And so later on we see that Damien is basically doing very good, and he's in class, he's practicing, he's doing very well, and he gets sick. He gets sick, and he gets sick in class, and so he winds up, going home. And so Bianca comes in, and basically she comes in and she checks on Damien, and she finds that he has 102 degree temperature. So this is when she begins to probe a little bit, because she knows that Damien and Ricky are basically an item and they have been sexually active. So she asks Damien, have you when you and Ricky were having sex, did you basically have protection? And so Damien tells Bianca basically yes. And so she started asking more and more questions, and Damien says, "Yes, we did have protective sex, but one of those times it basically came out." And so Damien basically was getting very, very uncomfortable with the questions that Bianca was basically asking him. And so he was very uncomfortable, so he didn't really want to answer any of the questions and everything. And so we see that one day that everybody is basically watching over Damien, because basically I believe he's probably the youngest in the house. And so Bianca told Angel to basically make sure that Damien eats to get his strength up, and this is when Damien confided in Angel that Bianca was basically asking him a lot of questions, and he was really uncomfortable, but he didn't open up to Bianca. I mean, he didn't open up to Bianca, but he opened up to Angel. And so basically Angel told Damien the reason why Bianca is basically asking these questions is because she wants to make sure that you're okay, and that the fact that if you contact HIV, or if you get AIDS, you basically catch a flu, or you basically catch pneumonia, and you really can't, come up out of it. That's one reason why she was answering the question. And so we go on, and we go on back to Angel. And Angel was comforting Candy, and she told Candy a story about her and Stan, due to the fact that um, Angel is also having issues and challenges as far as body image, and that is because Angel also wants to be a little bit more curvy, a little bit more voluptuous, because she feels that Dan wants she wants for her to basically, you have to excuse me, guys. I'm recording late at night. I thought everybody would be, chilling and everything. Of course, I live in the hood, so they're hollering and screaming. But anyway, she was beginning to tell the story to to Candy, and we see a scene where they're basically Stan and Angel are basically going for it, and it apparently, it seems that Stan was having some issues in performing. He was not, getting hard, and she began to ask questions, and he asked, she says, "Well, what's going on? Did you have sex with your wife before you came over to have sex with your mistress?" And so Sam was saying, "Well, no, 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 it's just the liquor, because we saw a scene where they were, having a good time drinking or whatever." And so this is when Angel started talking to Stan and said, "Well, I'm not going any further when it comes to us having any sex until basically you tell me the truth, and until you tell me exactly what's going on and who you are." And so that's when Stan basically broke down and told Angel that when he was in college, he was, I'm going to say, he was exploring his sexuality, and basically he went into a porno store, and he went into the back, because in Washington D.C., I always go relate to Washington D.C. Was that when I was in Washington D.C., and I would go into a video store. That's when the DVR, the DVDs and stuff was into play, and they will always have this room, this back room, and that back room will always have black curtains. And so in the back of it, that's where you would find all of the you know, the pornographic movies, everything dealing with gay, anything you wanted to deal with, any type of fetish, butch queen or whatever, was back there. And so this was something similar to Stan. He found this section in the back of in the back of this pornographic store, where he saw a magazine, and the magazine had this thing where called, I think it was called Boys with Dicks, or Boys. It was something with she's or with dick. It was something like that. And he realized that when he would look at these, magazines and everything, that he basically would get aroused, is because the man was, I mean, the men was she, and we used to call them, I mean, back in the day, you could tell I'm kind of out there. We used to call them, before we would call them trans, we used to call them shims. And the reason why we would call them shims is because they were like, on one part they were like a boy, I mean, and then the other part they were like women. And this is before I even knew that, where I'm at with myself now. And we used to call them shims, which meant him shims, and which meant, you know, he's a she or she's a he, or that's what we would do. And I knew it wasn't, well, I didn't know any better at the time. And so this is when he realized that he gets very aroused by men who are trans men, trans women. And this is where he aroused. He liked the fact that the women, it's a trans woman, and he likes that. And it is true that there are men that are not attracted to women. Are not, I mean, they're attracted to women who are men. They're not attracted, and I said this once before in my other video last week, or the first one, that you have men out here who would prefer and who has this fetish, and that they enjoy being with a man who can transform themselves into this illusion. This is why they call, that is why they call the category of, the different categories. And that are, they it's just something about them that they are attracted to. And this is what is going on with Stan. And then this is what we also find out. We find out a little bit more about Alexis. And we find out a little bit more about Alexis by the way of we get a good look into her life, and we see her being a little bit more emotional and a little soft, because Alexis is always and has always and comes off to be very uh, aggressive, be very narcissistic. I think that's the word, and being very sometimes she could be very condescending, but yet at the same time you catch you we saw a soft spot with her this week. That's why I kind of sort of call it the body image. It's because we see her in a scene with her gentleman, the man who's basically have kept her for 10 years. And so they have a conversation, and they finish, they're finished their relationship or whatever they're doing in the bedroom. And Alexis has a conversation with her gentleman friend, and she tells him that she would like to, complete her reassignment. And basically, her man said, and her lover said to her, well, if you do this, if you do this operation, it will not be the same. And then there's something that I basically like my woman, and my woman just has something different with her that's attracted, and I'm attracted to you with that. In other words, he's attracted to Alexis due to the fact that she still has her private parts, she still have her genitals, and that's something that he really, really likes. And so Alexis was like, I'm not really feeling this. Um, and of course they had, sex, and he told her, well, I could tell the difference with you, especially when I went down on you, that you weren't really comfortable with due to the fact that I was basically going down on you. And she told her gentleman friend that, she's getting older, and she's in her 40s, and that he could always, go and find someone else who is much younger than she is. And so to me this is very, very interesting. This is very, very interesting, the fact that FX is basically dealing with, this particular subject. And I know those straight people who are basically sitting and looking at this. This is really a lesson in trans the trans world and all of the challenges that they basically have to deal with. And I don't want and so we go on and we find out that Candy. Now, Percy had already, you know, threw her out again about the category again. She comes in this time because she's insisting that she wants to be a curvy woman. And so she go at it by way of she pads up. She put on, you can go to the store and you get these boobs. You can put the fake boobs on. They have the fake asses and the fake hips and the fake thighs. And so when she came into the ballroom in the category again was curviness, was butchness, real. And this time she came in it again and Percy ate her up again. And so she basically he said something. Percy said something. I don't know what he says because his dialogue, his lingo is just ooh. But anyway, so she takes out all the pads and everything and she throws them at her. And of course, Angel is basically there again. And so this time Angel gets her and Angel tells her, well, if you truly want to, have all this curviness, I know someone that basically can, give you what you can give the body image that you basically are looking for. And so we see that Candy and Angel basically go to this woman who has set up in her apartment, who has basically, I'm going to say she was basically an assistant to a professional doctor who basically does this as a profession and who knew exactly how to work with the silicones and what basically you needed to do. And so Candy and Angel was started asking them a question and everything, and she's telling them, well, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that it's done right. And you want to be very, very careful because if you don't, basically, you can get blood poisoning. You could get affected. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen to you. And basically, if the person doesn't know what they're doing, they could take these needles because I'm trying to figure out what show was this. Um, I said she got a habit, but it was one of those shows that I saw. I'm not cool where this woman wanted to, she wanted to, make more money, and she was a dancer, so she shot herself up with. She went to a person underground to do the silicones. And when they got finished with her, she looked like a football. What did she look like? One parts of her butt was a football. The other parts was a basketball. I mean, she was just like. I mean, if it's not done right, guys, the silicones and everything, I ain't really for it. But if it's not done right, you can really botch yourself up. That's why there's doctors now on one show called Botchism where, you know, they go to this doctor who is really good at what he does and he has to correct all of the surgeries that these people have went to and they have gotten messed up anyway. And so Angel and Candy finds out that this woman charges $30. I mean, no, excuse me, charge $1,000. And so they thought that they would give her that they would get a discount, and she said, "No, this ain't no discount, Mama. You got to pay for this." And basically, I am getting my stuff very good. So we go on, and we find out that Damien. We find out that Damien is still basically having a fever, and Bianca has a conversation with Percy, and she tells Percy that she wants her boys to basically go and take the test. They need to go take the test. And so Percy says that, all of them will go and take the test. And so this is when we see that Damien and Ricky has a conversation. And so Damien basically asks Ricky, how many partners did you have? And we find out that Ricky has really been sleeping around. And of course, he's going to be sleeping around especially if you're homeless, and you're looking for, a place to stay. And some of these boys, some of these girls, and some of these prostitutes, they have sex with sleep, or sex to just get off to the street, for a night. And of course, and they're not really thinking about, protecting themselves. And so we find out that Ricky had several partners, about 50. And Bianca was basically on the other side, basically listening to the fact that Ricky had, Ricky had a lot of partners. So it was necessary that they go to the clinic and that they go and they get tested. Now, when they got tested, they got the test, and Percy took all of them to go and get the test. And we see that they come back, and we see that everybody, with the exception of one person, was negative. Only one person was basically positive. But I want to go back and talk a little bit about Poppy. Now, I was thinking that Poppy was also gay, but we find out that Poppy is not gay. Poppy is straight, and he lives in the house of Bianca. He lives in the house of Evangelistic, and this just goes to show you that everybody in the certain homes and the certain houses are not necessarily gay. And this goes to show you that when we have the houses, that they take in everybody. They just, I mean, yes, they concentrate on, our youth and stuff like that, and, the mothers and the fathers concentrate. But to know that they also take in straight kids also too. It was very refreshing. And, Ryan um, made a very good point to the audience to let them know that even though there are houses in the ballroom, but there are also straight kids that are also in the houses with these trans kids and trans boys. We don't really talk too much about trans boys. We're really focusing on trans women, and I wish that they will also um do a little bit on trans men and trans boys. Um and then so that was good to see that even though he's not a trans and he's around all of this gayness, he understands it, and he says, I need to go get checked, because basically I've been sleeping around too. And when I was, I didn't have a place to stay, I sold myself, had a couple of boys to kind of like, hook me up. They did, all this on, they sucked my, my private parts. And so, yeah, I need to go get checked too, because we have to understand that HIV has been around for a very, very long time. Like I said, I'm in my 60s. And it has been, and I'm blessed to see that it has been around for a very long time. But HIV and AIDS has also come a long way. And it's the fact that Ryan is basically telling you that everybody needs to know what their status is when it comes to HIV or when it comes to anything. That, especially HIV, due to the fact that they have not found a cure for this. And it does take you out. I remember my friends always checking their T cells, always checking to see, their white cells, if their white cells are low or if their red cells are low. And my friends who I knew that died from HIV, and when they found out that their T cells or their white cells was low, they would get very, very, very nervous. So I say this is that when Percy took all of the guys to get their tests, everybody came out negative. Ricky was extremely, extremely happy due to the fact that he came out negative, and he said he would never, have unprotected sex again. And you saw a scene where he was putting all these condoms in his bag and everything. And so Damien was very happy due to the fact that Rick was also negative too. But when it was time for Percy to basically go in and to find out what his status was, he found out that he was positive. And of course, that didn't sit well with him. And I'm gonna tell you, Percy, Billy, I forgot what's his last name. He played that part very, very well. He literally broke down in the nurse's office after the nurse gave him the reading. And he was basically really crying. So he said, "Well, are you sure?" And the nurse says, "Yes, I'm sure." And so and he said to her, "Well, let me get myself together, and before I go out here um, to these boys, because I don't want them to see, my emotion." So he came out and he told the boys, he lied. He basically lied to the boys and told them that he was also negative too. And so we go on and we see that Candy has found another woman, and Angel basically helped her, has found another woman who could who can shoot her up with the silicones. Now, this woman was, to me, a scum, to me. She was an underground person. The first one was a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more private, but still, they're still in the dark doing this illegal, planting these silicones and stuff like that. So she goes on and she gets the shots and everything. And of course, she goes back to the ballroom. But this time, when she goes back to the ballroom, Percy basically sees her, and the category again was full figure queer. I think it was queer film or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I could be wrong. But Percy says, "Oh yes, look at what do we have here? What do we have here?" And of course, she was looking good. She got tens all the way across the board. But prior before that, her and Angel was there because I think her and Angel was always kind of close, a little bit of close together. So her and Angel was basically there, and so she asked Angel. She says, it's hot in here, so you think it?" And she says, "Nah, it's like the wintertime. How in the heck you getting hot?" And so after she received the tens and she got all her accolade and she got her trophy, she fainted. She blanked out on the floor. And so we see her on the floor. And so this time we see that she winds up in up in the house of abundance. And so Alexis was basically chewing her out, telling her that if I knew basically um that you were interested in this, I basically could have took you where you could have gotten it done correctly. And this is when Candy basically chewed into her. And so she told Alexis, and actually Alexis needed that chewing out, but still it didn't really make any difference because Alexis gonna be Alexis. And so Candy said, "You really don't care about anybody. You just care about yourself. You don't really care." And this is when Alexis basically broke down and said, "I do care. And I have an issue with body image too, is because I am not comfortable with me in my private parts. I want to get rid of it." And so that's when Candy said, "Well, I thought that you basically, wanted to get rid of it." And so she said, "No, I have issues and challenges also." And so we go on and we see that Alexis, we see Alexis back in the office, and we see Alexis basically having a conversation with the doctor who's going to do the procedures. And she tells the doctor that she is going to go ahead and do it, but she's also is going to lose a relationship that she has had with a gentleman friend who has been basically they've been together for 2 years. I mean, no, sorry, they've been together for 10 years. So we see that Alexis is in the office, basically signing the paperwork to basically do the surgery. Then we also see an image where we see that Angel, Angel is also having body images too, because earlier in the scene, her and Stan basically got into it, and she tells Stan to basically get out of my house. Now, it ain't your house, Angel. It ain't your house. You're a kept woman. You're a kept woman. It's his house. So if anybody need to get out, it would basically be you. And so Angel, we see that Angel is also getting silicone shots also. But she went to the first doctor who basically charges $1,000. She didn't go to the other one who had the hotel, who had the scummy looking stuff. So we see that Angel was doing her thing too. And then at the very last part, we see that Bianca and Percy was having the conversations because Percy was basically designing Bianca a dress because she was basically going to see Damien at his first recital. And this is when Percy basically breaks down and tells Bianca that basically he lied and that he has the virus. And Bianca was basically really upset, but she understood. And so we see that Bianca and Damien and Percy and all of the boys and everything is at the recital for Damien. And that's when it goes off. Now I'm gonna do a little recap here. Bianca I think Bianca is gonna be okay. Alexis, I'm not quite sure. I don't know whether or not if she's gonna go through with it. Um, Angel. I believe Angel is going to, although she's through staying out, I believe that Angel is going to lose herself. I don't know what's going to happen with her and Stan. Candy, I don't know whether or not how long she's going to stay in the House of Abundance. And I believe Bianca is going to find out about Poppy due to the fact that he's actually dealing in drugs, and she's going to get very, very upset with him in that. Because Damien is the only one knows that Poppy is selling drugs. And I think I have a feeling that Ricky is basically going to cheat on uh Damien. This is a very good show. I understand it's not getting very good ratings. I understand the ratings is moving very slow. And they said that they got picked up for a second season. I'm going to tell you, if you're a straight person, look at the show. If you're a gay person, or if you're just a person who love good movies, check this out. Pose. This is Cheryl, all things Cheryl, coming at you, and I will see you on Wednesday or Thursday. And until then, this is all things Cheryl. Um, Giving you love and peace, and remember, love is for everyone. Until next time, peace.